take in additional students for a cooperative team, is it something we can at least look into?
Sure, Peter,
We can.
do you have any information, because we can certainly ask our athletic director about
Right.
that, absolutely, and we need to understand the
But I think
parameters.
running a club in another town for $1,200 doesn't make any, and this is just, I don't, maybe I'm not quite understanding your point. Why would you pay $1,200 to go play a sport in some other town where you could pay $600 and play it here
Well, you wouldn't, but if the sport's not offered
altogether?
altogether.
I see.
Okay.
But
Whether
that,
it-
that's not the recommended format that we're using. We're not recommending, I don't know if the committee has officially made a decision on that,
Yeah.
but the administration's recommendation is to have a flat $600 and $500 and
$85.
$85 fee across the board, not the
Not per sport.
format. With student activities, it's going to be per activity. So we really, if that happens, if that is the fee, I think the scenario that you're talking about may occur in the spring. We will have sports sign-ups, we will get our fall program off the ground. We probably won't figure out where we are financially until the winter, and then we're gonna have to make some decisions
Well, our
on how we
deficit
might
usually
have
starts
to
running
fund.
mid-November.
Um,
I was gonna say.
Our
that
sports
we're-
deficit generally starts in mid-November, so that's
After
when we.
the academic year 12-13.
Yeah, but that isn't, we're assuming because of the fee, less people will play. Because that fee is based on 570 participants. So if 570 people play, then everything.
But that
runs.
570 is the number of total athletes. That counts kids who play. One child might play
Sports
soccer
season.
and basketball and baseball. So that 570 would count that same one child 3 times, correct?
No, that's how many fees, it's 570 times. the-
Yeah. Right, you might pay
Right,
it
but that's
3
what I'm
times.
saying. It's the same.
Yeah, it
right.
could be,
Within the
yes,
same
yes,
child.
So
absolutely.
it's not necessarily that number.
Yeah, it
That's
could
what
be
the
one kid
bottom
counting 3
line is.
times,
But
it's paid the user fee 3 times.
right.
So Peter, though, in terms of the question about the co-ops, so let's say field hockey doesn't have enough it doesn't run because there's just, you can't afford the
You
sport.
wouldn't have time to, you have to apply for a co-op before the season.
Okay.
It's almost a year in advance from what I understand.
Oh, I know.
Or
It's
do they get-
Done prior to each season. What they do is they have to do it, in other words, if they're gonna run a co-op,
Who's the former
you have to
athletic
bring it,
director?
you have to bring it to the Cape Ann League first. And it has to be done in the season prior, so if you're looking for a co-op in the winter, you have to present it in the
right.
fall. And then it has to be approved, and then it goes on, it gets approved at the MIAA. But the process has to start at the local level, at the Cape Ann Athletic Directors meetings in the fall for a winter co-op.
So Dave, can I just?
Thank you, Dave.
Can I just ask a follow-up question? That just want, Dave's the former athletic director, so it's fortuitous he's here. So, like, I know you can't necessarily join another team because there isn't, like, if we didn't offer something, we couldn't somebody couldn't sign on to participate in Triton's swim team, right? So I think that's sort of the problem here, isn't it, right? That the kids would determine that they couldn't play here because of the fee.
The co-op
but
is based on the host team's need. And
Right.
quite frankly,
Right, it's a host team.
in most sports, there isn't a need. Schools aren't gonna have a need in field hockey.
No.
Right.
They have needs in ice hockey, in swimming, and some track, things like that. So it isn't going to be an option, really, for most of our athletes to go someplace else.
We sort of have co-ops with all those teams that are in that.
And there's
Like,
a-
for example, we have a co-op with wrestling with Ipswich. That would have been the case that, we wouldn't have had enough of Georgetown, so we invited Ipswich to join us. 'Cause we're the home team
Is
for.
there any sort of creative solution if we're not able to offer sports to our students?
I think we have to
It's
keep
all-
thinking
it's all
about it, right?
speculation.
Nothing should be off the table.
I think Hamilton Wenham's a perfect example of that. That's one of the reasons why they offer a sport, and if they don't get enough participants, that sport is completely eliminated. And they don't have the opportunity to try co-ops or anything else like that, because it's already been decided prior to. Even the co-ops that pre-exist have to be approved every single year, because the host team all of a sudden could get enough kids to come out for the sport that they've been co-oping on, and at that point in time, it would be denied, and that team who's co-op would have to go look for another host team to take them on. So even though they have the co-ops and they continue, they do have to be approved every single season, every single year.
Maybe we could look at intramurals. I mean, some places have very strong intramural programs. Colleges have the students who can't play,
Yeah, but nobody's
you know,
gonna
the
pay for
elite.
that.
Well, I
Nobody's
agree.
gonna pay for that.
Well, you wouldn't have to have the
Well, yeah,
same
you would,
level
because you
fee.
need, no, not a, it wouldn't be as high.
You wouldn't choose the same fee, because remember, our athletic fees are also taking into consideration transportation, you know, officials. There's
Trainers.
all kinds of coaches'
Coaches.
salaries, you know,
Mhm.
All
so,
right.
but,
I'm just trying to think out of the
no,
box.
it's a good question.
Thank you.
All right, I would,
So
I think we need to take a vote on our number.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, I am in full agreement with, you know, what you all worked on last week so hard, and again, I really appreciate it. So I don't want to, you know, I'm not gonna change anything on here, I should say ask to have anything changed on here. So if you're comfortable going to FinCom next week with a recommended budget of $12,165,797, which is the 5.5% increase, or 642 over net school spending, then I think that's, I mean, that I'm prepared to vote for that. Are you?
I'm comfortable having you go to FinCom with that number.
Yay, me.
Sorry, good.
Okay. All right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the FY12 budget number at $12,165,797.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any more discussion? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 1 second, let me just write this down. Okay. All right, was there anything else that you wanted to bring up? I mean, we talked about other things this morning.
Yeah, no, I think,
Do you wanna talk about the
so
bus?
on the-
Do
on
we
the
vote
20
on an over?
I was gonna say, yeah,
We
on the
need to talk
20,
about that.
you have a meeting on the 24th.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know if on the 24th, because I think you have to nail down whatever the real language in all of the warrants are before it goes to print, obviously.
Right, that's
The first
boilerplate,
week
though.
in
We just have to put the number in.
April, right. So we can certainly.
We'll get
look for-
we'll get the placement for Monday, the placeholder
Right,
in on for Monday to hold it, and then on the 24th, we will come
yeah,
up
that's
with.
what I'm thinking. We
And
can
you know,
talk in
and at that
between.
point, email us, you know, email the Board of Selectmen, email whoever, you know, you think you need to speak to, and let us know what your appetites are, you know, really. Not just people in this room, but everybody watching.
If you hear from groups of people, tell us that.
Tell us that, I mean,
as
tell
well.
it, we don't know.
So
We
you
only
guys
know
are
what people
really
tell
looking
us.
for feedback on what our
What the appetite is. Is it a basic, is it basically keep what we have?
Okay.
Is it cut these few things, but, you know, kind of maintain what we have? Is it 1.5, which would fill the hole for 1 year? Is it 3? You know, we don't know. But we have to go forward based on what we think is going to be successful. To throw, you know, I'm not going to throw $5 million out there, because I don't see that ever happening. You know, so we have to be realistic in what we're looking at, but, you know,
Do we vote on that?
information.
Just say, do we vote on putting a placeholder on?
We should.
We will vote, yeah, definitely.
Okay, but tonight, do we have to vote to say?
To hold the placeholder, yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah. But I just want, you know,
yeah.
I wasn't to that yet, but we can do
No,
that now.
I know.
So the
I
chair will
just wanted
entertain a
make sure
motion
we
to,
didn't lose sight of it.
the chair will entertain a motion to approve a placeholder for the warrant, since it closes Monday. As, well, and it's not gonna be as presented, it's going to be based on the language that we find tomorrow. So it's
For an override.
basically for an override.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Laura, did you get that convoluted?
Sure.
All right, it's for an override placeholder. There you go. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's done. So, do you want to discuss the potential bus fees? Anyone?
Well,
I mean, it needs to come, I mean, we need to say, it is a potential, you know, if the town is giving us what is, you know, statutorily required with the net school spending, you know, can we really go beyond what is statutorily required of us with the limited money? You know, we're looking at moving it to 2 miles, which is state law. 2 miles, K to 6, ride for free. 7 to 12 outside of 2 miles would pay. And then there's the whole discussion about what you want to do about inside the 2 miles.
right.
You know, and it was ugly last year and probably be even uglier this year because the distance is greater. But the fact is, you know, as you can see, there isn't any money. And a bus costs $47,000, so unless you're willing to pay $800 or $900 per child to cover the cost of a bus, you know, we need to look at the fees. And $200, you know, is what
Yeah.
the general consensus would be as far as almost tolerable, but it's yet one more tax on parents. Like sports is one more tax on
Right.
parents, and activities is one more tax on parents. So it is one more thing that we have to keep taxing parents with. But you need to know that it's out there, and it is a probability.
Well, the problem is that the budget going from level services,
Mhm.
the level services budget has already been reduced by $46,000 to
Right.
get to level services.
Right.
So that's
That's
why
a
the
bus.
fees are necessary, because if you don't
That's a
do
bus.
that,
Yeah.
if we bring the $46,000 back, which we all feel compelled to do,
Mhm.
that just means something else has to be cut for $46,000, because the bottom line is the bottom line, right?
Right.
So we were looking, as much as we don't want anything to do with bus fees, we were looking at, well, if it was, we were looking originally at $1 a day,
Right.
$180, $1 a day. And I still think that's the right number personally, but just because it makes sense, right? 200 is fine too, but 180 just makes sense to me. It's $1 a day.
Yeah.
Um,
Accounting wise, 200 is easier, but
Absolutely, it is, but sometimes perception is important too, right? And $1 a day is different than $200 to me. But having said that, that's really the challenge. I mean, this is the third year in a row of, bus uproar, and understandably so, but I just, like I said last meeting, whatever we're gonna do, maybe we could try
We
to
need to do it soon.
decide on the 24th, because I really feel like we haven't given the community enough time in the last 2 years to make the appropriate arrangements. And, when you're trying to scramble in the summer and you think you've got a bus and you don't have a bus, I just think a lot of the uproar last year was because of the timing and the communication. I'd like to avoid that. If we can do that, I think if people knew enough in advance, they could make whatever arrangements. We have the chart that we made for you last meeting that showed the number of students that rode,
Mhm.
the number of students who'd be eligible at various levels. I mean, personally, it is the age of fees. I don't like it, because I believe that you need to make sure kids get to and from school. And I don't want their lack of bus transportation, or lack of ability to get to school to be, an excuse for students to not be in school. I think it's important that, I think we have a responsibility. But again, we're talking about everything being competing, right?
Right, we have a
Competing
responsibility to
priorities.
teach kids
I
and,
know.
and open the doors and do all these things,
I
and
know.
everything costs
I know.
money.
The other thing I would point out
I agree.
is that, if I recall those numbers correctly, is that even if for some reason that $46,000 were added back into the budget, you would still need to consider changing your policy to 2 miles,
Right.
because 5 buses will not be enough
Enough
buses
For the middle high
to
school.
transport the middle high school students that
Right.
are eligible
Especially with the big fifth
at
grade
1.5 miles.
student kid class going up.
That's a good point. Thank you for reminding us of that.
So I don't really know is there something else that we can provide to help with the conversation? It's just I don't,
No, I mean, I think that, we've been through this. We
Mhm.
know
Right.
it's beyond an inconvenience. We know it's
Right.
a hardship for a lot of people.
Right.
But
right,
the fact is we don't have money for these buses.
right.
So, you do the sign up, we can do the sign up, and you put down 50% of what your cost would be, and then you look at the numbers and say, okay, maybe we don't need another bus. Maybe we don't need 5. Maybe based on the sign-ups, we only need 4.
Right.
Then we can add a teacher back for $46,000, or not cut something else. It's a very,
We cut the 5th bus, right? The 46, the
46,000
46,000 leaves 4,
Yeah, the 46,000 is the most conservative revenue,
right, but you're talking about you may need 5.
yeah,
well, yeah,
But
That's-
I'm saying based on the sign-ups, we may not.
correct.
right,
Right.
but we may not, yeah. we
But the
may need
fee's
4.
not, right, we may only need 4, right.
So we couldn't add a teacher back, because we'd just be covering our costs for the buses. That's the only reason I wondered what you
But
were.
4 is in the budget, correct?
4 is in the budget.
Right,
But we cut the 46 to get to 4. There was
Right.
5 were in the budget.
So we started out, the
So
budget was 5.
The first 46,000 buy your 5th bus
right,
of fees. That's
Mhm.
what buys your 5th bus,
of fees. Right.
yes, of
That's
fees.
a lot of riders.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
Yeah,
riders
it
at
is a lot of
$200 or
riders.
$180 a person.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, All right, we'll talk about it at,
Okay. So maybe
on
we
the
can make a
24th,
final
we'll do bus
decision on
fees,
that?
override numbers, athletic fees,
Okay.
what else?
Fees, that's it.